1.
Welcome back to American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, brought to you as always by AVET Project. Folks, we've got a really interesting interview, and we sure hope you're enjoying it, because Glenn and I are always looking to bring you guests that really have a story to tell, and Patricia, you certainly do. Now, hopefully you recall where we left off, because Glenn and I are already forgotten.
I sure do. I was talking about the fact that I've been introduced to Sue Downs and Alexis Cornine, who both have service dogs. And I had been introduced to them by a veteran who has a service dog himself. And Marcia, at that point, I had already written music for some films for Marcia, and Marcia was talking to me about what's going to happen when these people come home from these wars, and she was thinking in terms of curb cuts and disabilities. And so we were already very interested in service dogs, and we were going to make a film about psychological support from service dogs. But when we met Alexis and Sue, and we saw them with their kids, we just instantly knew that we wanted to make a feminist film about the experience that women encounter when they serve and when they transition home. That was just much more interesting. And all
hence
8
the
women
title.
in our film,
Hence
I have
the
to
title.
tell you,
Right, hence the
which
title.
is always interesting to me. You know, it's 3 or 4 years since we've met these women. They are so resilient. They're all doing so well. And people come back from the enormous war trauma that they get through. And all of the women in our film, some of them have attempted suicide. Some of them have been homeless. One of the women in our film, Bridget McCoy, spoke at the Senate hearings on military sexual assault. But what I'm so happy about is that there is definitely as much hope as there is heartbreak in the stories of these 8 incredibly resilient and brave women. And when Marcia and I talked about getting started, I set up all these social networks, Facebook and everything else, and really got to know a lot of women. And they made this film happen.
And we again are talking with Patricia Lee Stoddard, who has co-wrote and made the documentary with Marcia Rock, Service When Women Come Marching Home. So that is interesting that it's all woven together. But the key point to take away from what you just said is you actually started off with an entirely different subject and found yourself doing this.
Yes, and I would say, co-produced rather than co-written, because one of the things we're very proud of, and I say this as a civilian, is there's not one word in our film that is not out of the mouth of a veteran or one of their therapists, many of who are vets or working in the vet community. We understand. I get that I don't get it, which might mean I get it a lot better than most civilians, but that's very important that those women do that, and they introduced us to each other. For example, Bridget, when we were with her in Washington, when she went to testimonial hearings and got to hug Patty Murray, and then she interviewed Dr. Patty Hayes at the VA, and we met her Facebook friend, Layla. And Layla Mansberger has become one of the 8 women profiled in our film. So this was really veteran-driven, and it's nothing but the words of veterans. And in spite of the challenges they faced, they have all found healing in helping others by helping themselves.
Now, you mentioned Bridget. Are you talking about Bridget Cantrell, the PTSD expert?
Well, she is in our film as one of the therapists.
Okay.
And Bridget Cantrell is wonderful. I'm speaking about Bridget McCoy,
okay,
who is one of the veterans in our film who suffered, she was raped while she was in the military.
Wow.
And she had a lot of problems and was homeless for a while and unemployed for a while and had self-destructive behavior. And now she's creating wonderful groups, helping other veterans. She has a home. Her kids are doing great. She speaks at Senate hearings. I mean, that's the other thing I want to talk about, about women, uniquely women in the military. Women who go into the military have a lot of moxie.
Oh, they must. Yeah.
They are just wonderful, wonderful women. And the reason it's so important that DOD and the VA work the systemic issues and problems they have out is that, A, the military doesn't want to lose this talent to trauma. They really don't. And neither does the civilian population. These aren't just great gals. These are remarkable women. It takes a certain kind of spirit for a woman to go into the military. And these